I am your host, Leah Dunlap, and you are listening to the Oracle on Purpose podcast, where we help intentional leaders clarify their purpose and next steps to create a work and life of significance.
Welcome to the Oracle on Purpose podcast, where we help intentional leaders clarify their purpose and next steps to create a work and life of significance. I'm your host, Leah Dunlap. Today, I am so honored to bring a talented, smart, and purpose-driven woman who unlocks the secrets of tax codes to help other entrepreneurs and leaders to find solutions to their tax troubles and, most importantly, grow their financial foundation. Today, my guest is Shan-Nel D. Simmons. She is a tax resolution specialist and a trusted small to mid-sized business consultant who served as a former, get this, IRS revenue agent. Who wouldn't you want to have on your side, right? She's got multiple accounting degrees and over 19 years of experience in accounting and tax. The CEO and founder of NEL Tax and Financial Solutions, ShanNel has successfully handled the taxes and financials of entrepreneurs and emerging small businesses nationwide since 2016. She's a published and an award-winning contributor to media outlets such as bestcompany.com, Credit Karma, and HuffPost. And she continues to establish herself as a trusted speaker on topics such as business and taxes. Welcome to the show, Shan-Nel.
Thank you so much for having me, Leah. How are you?
I am so excited to have you here. I know as an entrepreneur for over 25 years now, this is such a big topic. And so I'm so glad you're here. I know today we're going to kind of touch on something that a lot of people get uncomfortable with. Let's be honest. All right. But this is something that's important, and business leaders and entrepreneurs especially really need to have this information in hand. You know, in light of where we are, this is going to broadcast in 2020. And if anybody's been alive around here, they know that it's been a very interesting financial year for a lot of people. And so I'm really excited to have us talk about how to stay golden with the IRS. I mean, I think that alone is going to help alleviate so much extra concern and trauma people have during this year. But more importantly, I think that, you know, when I talk about my work, I talk about being on purpose, being aligned. And this kind of energy, if you have anything going on around the IRS, can really stunt your personal growth and your professional growth because it causes all of this angst. We were kind of just talking about that beforehand. And I know that most people don't end up in their journey or their position in life without having some clue back to their purpose, to like what they're really about. So I'm curious for you. I know that we've just talked about your amazing, description of all the things you've done and related to taxes and to the IRS. But I'm sure that there's a part of that story that maybe other people don't know about, or maybe you don't normally share as a tax consultant. But I'm curious, how do you find alignment with your purpose and all this business genius you have in the work you do today?
Absolutely. So my entire life, I have always loved puzzles, and I love restoration. Like I love taking people from a situation that seems chaotic and basically bringing order, but also the relief, like the overall, and you just see like the burden just literally melt away.
I love that, the burden melt away.
Yeah. So that's been my whole life. I've always been a rooter of the underdog. I've always been the person who always wants to see everyone has that opportunity to win. Even if they don't necessarily win, I want them to have the opportunity and be put in a position where they could win and have like the best case scenario for them. And I think that my love of puzzles, math, and numbers, it all just came together. And when I went to school, I actually wanted to be a teacher.
Oh,
and a lot of people don't know that. I had a very literary past, and I wanted to be an elementary school teacher. And then I was a teacher's aide for first grade for one school year, and I said nope.
I think a lot of parents today would agree with you on that. Nope.
I said nope.
Shout out to teachers everywhere. We honor you and
no, teachers, you are saints and blessings to the earth. And now that I have my daughter and she's going through kindergarten right now, you guys, you are working on a whole nother kind of spiritual realm.
Talk about being on purpose. Absolutely.
So I knew for me it was a no.
That's important, right? Our purpose does leave clues, and it leaves clues when it's not aligned too. So I think that's great to know. Yeah.
But I still have that teacher spirit as well. Yep. So like that has also been all a part of it. So when I bring everything together, tax made sense for me because it takes my love of literally everything. And then it brings it back to numbers,
right?
Rooting for the underdog, trying to create solutions and bring pieces of the puzzle together so that way I can get a clear picture and a clear answer. And then, trying to put everyone in a position where they can win, so for me, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And I literally
I'm just going to jump in here and say, you're like a tax superhero. No, seriously. It's interesting because as I'm listening to you, it's like, yes, it's that order. It's that compassion, right? Because I think people get scared about even talking about their money. So to have somebody feel like you said, wanting them to win, like being in a position to win, that's huge. Because I think that people, when they start talking about the IRS, they feel like they're already losing, right? Like,
right, they do.
Like we talked about a moment ago. Even the word, like even those letters are like, you don't even know what is it. Like if you get a check from them, you might even still just be panicking because you see the name on the envelope, right? Like there's something about that that's very powerful.
And they prey on that, of course. I mean, and mind you, their job. So I don't know if the listeners out, most people don't know this.
But tell us, Shan-Nel, you tell us. Tell us the truth.
I mean, when you really think about the fact that tax dollars pay for over 90% of all costs of the government. So this goes beyond just, I know people feel some kind of way about senators and such, but really think about how vast the federal government, the state governments, the local and Commonwealth government. Like, when you think of everybody, and then you find out that tax dollars pay over 90% of that. So this is your military, this is your parks, this is the schools, hospitals, universities, the roads that we all can't stand. This is, it's literally everything, and some things that you completely take for granted on a daily basis. We all contribute to that.
Right.
And even the federal workers and state workers who are earning their wages, their money gets taken out just like yours to also pay.
Yeah, right.
Right, to pay right back into it. See, and which I used to tease when I was there. I used to say, I should technically be, if this was a for-profit thing, I should be like a stockholder. Like I should be getting dividends.
Yeah, I'm getting dividends for this work. My gosh. Yeah.
But if you really think about it, even in those terms, we all receive a dividend by the quality of life that we get to enjoy here in the United States.
Yeah.
So therefore, you understand then why the IRS is very big on trying to collect that, because their role is to make sure we can continue to fuel what we have going and hopefully garnish enough funds to improve upon, because they still don't collect everything that they should.
Right. And so I love that what I see in all of this as you're talking is that, you found an alignment with your purpose that allowed you to see the bigger picture, but also to share. And like you said, to teach and share that wisdom with others so that they can be a part of this process. And as I always say, like, life doesn't happen to us, it happens through us. And this part of life, which is that circulation, right, is happening through you and your experience of sharing that knowledge with people so that they can also feel like a part of it. Like not, as you said, like there's a way for them to win. And of course, people are probably sitting here. I know a lot of entrepreneurs are listening, and even young entrepreneurs and new business builders are thinking, how do I also keep as much as I'm allowed? How do I make this work, as you said, for me, so that I am being smart about it, and also creating, like, I love what you said, the financial foundation to last, because we want our businesses to last. We want it to, hopefully create wealth for generations. And I think people are always in that place where they're not sure. And so most of them, I would think, which I often hear, and we talked about this too, they kind of just go like, I don't do numbers, like just put the money in the bank and I'll just not worry about it. So I'm curious, as I was looking at some of the information you gave me beforehand, but how do you, now that you look at the work you've been doing, and I know you've been super successful for some of your clients, I'm just curious how you could share some of the stories perhaps about how your work has had a positive impact on your clients and therefore the world, because I think that's part of it, right? It's part of the circulation piece where if we lift up businesses and we give them the best footing, then they help make the world a better place. So how has your work had a positive impact on the world?
Absolutely. I had a client, he and his wife, they were running an HVAC company, like they owned the company. And basically he ended up getting into some car accidents that ultimately caused him to temporarily be unable to work. During us trying to do his offer in compromise for over $300,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this guy was very successful. He had other people he had employed. However, some of his biggest clients, they only wanted to work with him. So I know a lot of you guys know how that is.
I know. I can feel like all the people all the entrepreneurs that are one-on-ones are going, that's me. I can't leave my business.
Right.
Yeah.
Even when you hire the best team, they're like, no. I will give you all the overflow, but I want to work with you.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Okay. See, I can hear that. I can feel that tension. And so, yes.
Yeah. So what ended up happening was he ended up losing his biggest, all of his biggest clients, temporarily. And they even said, if you feel better, we will definitely hire you back. But of course, we have to move on. And they only wanted to work with him. So he's losing money. Therefore, he's having to let people go. His house was about to be compromised. Wow. Because they were suffering for how to come up with rental, with payments. Luckily, he did have a rental property that was bringing in some good income, but of course not enough. His wife worked in their company in an administrative role, but they had little ones. So it didn't make financial sense for her to go and get a job, because to put them into daycare, it would just cancel each other out. They needed that offer in compromise. They needed to get that $300,000 worth of debt off of their back and not potentially lose the only source of income they had, which was their rental at that time, that like the actual inflow and the very few clients that they had left. So we were able to get the offer in compromise done. All 300 and some, we was able to get an offer of $30,000 on a $300,000 debt.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Okay, I want to back that up for just a second so everybody hears that. Because here's the thing I think that's so important is we get so scared about the unknown that we can be paralyzed into taking no action. But by reaching out to you and having a skilled, professional who knows the rules, right? Knows how to make things work, you were able to take a $300,000 debt and bring it down to 30.
They bring it down to 30.
10%.
And so, right. And then because of the fact, the way offering compromises work, as long as you're able to make, because he couldn't just dish out $30,000 at that time. But he was able to break it out into the number of payments. Like I think he had like 6 months to pay it. And so he was able to break that out and he was able to submit it. They're still in their home. He's doing better now with therapy and everything, so he's actually been able to work. I saw pictures, and that's always kind of the interesting part, because some clients of mine, I don't really necessarily get the follow-up. But like, I know that they did okay and I know we won, but sometimes after that it's just like they just go on with life sometimes, and that's fine. And then other times they'll come on as recurring clients and having, their taxes done through me. So it's always whatever they decide they want to do afterwards. However, I was able to follow up with them. They're still in their house. The business was able to be revived, and they got one of their biggest clients back. So, and therefore he was able to rehire. So when you are in a tax situation, so for those of you who are listening and wondering, like, how would this impact me? You're able to keep the assets within your family that you've worked so hard to obtain. Because he could have lost not only the rental property, but his very home to possibly have to try to take care of this debt. Which they work very hard to acquire, and to one day probably eventually give to their daughters. In his case, as an entrepreneur and a small business owner, he was able to rehire people and continue to keep them as employees, and therefore not only take care of his employees, but their families as well, because he faced his tax burden and got it managed, and therefore able to continue to expand and grow and create other opportunities for other people. And then, of course, take care of the needs of his clients. When it's you or anyone else taking care of your taxes, it's money in of itself is a flowing thing. It should never be stagnant, and it should never honestly end up just say, okay, I'm paying a tax bill. The way people are able to mitigate their taxes is by constantly flowing it, either within their businesses, within society by giving it to charity, within their households by possibly passing it down or giving it away as gifts, or reinvesting it into themselves. But they keep their money moving versus keeping it stagnant. And when you truthfully, when you do like this, the IRS does like that.
So for those of you listening, so you're just showing, like, when you cling on to something with your hand,
when you make a fist,
it makes the IRS like go, I want some of that. I think even from a bigger perspective, and for most people that listen to me, they know that I'm very much about, like, we're part of this process. The universe is working through us, as we talked about. And so if we're holding on to something, and we're blocking as much as we have left ourselves in a position of not circulating, not being in the circulation and the flow of things. And what I'm hearing you say is that by not only helping this person with this obviously urgent need, it still opened up a whole bunch of flow for everyone, for himself, for his family, for the people who worked for him and their families, because that's that ripple effect of having money move and circulate, is it touches so many lives. And when we find ourselves stuck and kind of paralyzed by the fear of even looking at it, then we're doing that, as you said, we're kind of holding on and white knuckling it. Then we are the ones as part of that block of keeping the flow from moving forward. And I love that, your work is helping people to also, I would imagine, obviously, relieve some of the trauma, because we were talking about that, as I mentioned before, this is being shot in 2020, and there's been a lot of economic shifts and changes happening. And so there is a bit of people feeling kind of traumatized by huge swings in the market, changes in their finances. And now we're coming to the end of the year where it's like, oh, now we have to think about, like, getting our taxes ready. And what does that mean? And how does it, and so many people can fall prey to just closing down, like you said, or shutting down, or being in fear. And it sounds like, to me, as you were talking, one of the beautiful things that you offer, as you said before, is a feeling like you can win this. There's a way for you to get through. And I know you mentioned that, like, this is a part of it. So I'm curious, as you think about, like, your legacy and what you're doing with your work, what is your big vision for your work? Like if you could say, like, out there in the world, you've created something with the work you do, what is it you want to change? What is it you want to bring to the world?
What I want to bring to the world is, as much as I love to solve tax problems, I would love to have a bunch of mentees who also are trained to want to solve. And because I find too often people come into this more so because of the fact they're like, well, it's money.
Right.
And they come in with a mindset of, well, it's money and I could just make money. And I'm like, no, that should not be the number one focus. It really shouldn't. Money is important, of course, and we definitely need it to, to do the things we need to do and to live the lives that we want to live. However, in this career and in this industry, I find those of us who come into it with the intention in the heart of wanting to get the best solution for our clients, the money comes. People pay. They know the results they're going to get. They hear the referrals and they hear the stories and the success from other people. So that will take care of itself. You have to just want to show up and guide your clients through this process, because it's a lot, especially right now since the government just recently came back from an even longer shutdown than what happened last year, because they were shut down from March all the way to like June, and then they really didn't truly fully open back up until September.
Wow.
So, and in the news, I don't know if you saw, Leah, but the commissioner just recently said that they're still processing up to 3 million returns for 2019. So the process can be long. I say all of that to say the process can be long. And so there's a lot of times people, they don't usually go through something for that long of a time, where sometimes it could take months, and depending upon how big or how many different people have to check off something or approve the process, it could take a year or two. That's very rare circumstances, but it could. And having to live with that kind of anxiety, and you're dealing with someone who isn't in it for the right reasons, that makes it a very laborious process. So, but when you have someone who truly has your best interest at heart and sees you more than just a case file, it just makes something that can honestly be a complete nightmare be livable and doable. And it just makes the solution when it comes just that much more of a breath of fresh air.
Right. Yes, it is. And we were talking about it before, it's like the release. So it sounds like to me, your real vision is just to create an army, for lack of a word, of people out there solving and creating solutions for people so that everybody can prosper ultimately.
Yes.
Yeah, because once you get people back to work or back into some financial stability, they're able to kind of make decisions, as you said, not out of that traumatic place, not out of a fearful place, but out of a purposeful place of what they want to do with their money and how they want their business to be benefiting the world. And also, of course, their lives and making their lives whole again. I love that. I'm so grateful that you took the time to come and share this message with us, because I know I love money, just so we're all clear. I love money. And ShanNel and I were talking, and I was telling her, one of the things that I love when I work with entrepreneurs, especially new entrepreneurs, or even entrepreneurs who came out of the business track, right? The corporate world, because there's a different energy about a paycheck, right? Than a business that you run. And there's a different way to show up, to realize that you're the master of this money. You're the one who not only pays the bills, but brings the money in. And you have to feel like a good steward of your money, so that you can prosper your business, and your business and the work it does can prosper the world. And if any of those chains are broken, the system you've created or not falls apart, and the world then does not get the benefit. It's like, I think that people think about the IRS, like you were saying, as like this quote unquote necessary evil. But as you mentioned when we started, there's a part of it that's beautiful if we look at the fact that it is part of circulation. And
Yes,
the
it is.
circulation that we're part of can be, as you said, it can be streamlined to the point where it is just part of your business operations, not this dreaded one time a year kind of what do I do? How do I get ready? And I want to kind of tap into this because I know you brought everybody a gift, and I'm excited because I know that this is important for everyone. I don't care where you are in your business journey. In a moment, I'm going to give you a link, but I want you to tell us a little bit about this gift that you're giving us, because I want your ears perking up. I want you to go grab a pen. I want you to get this goodie, because I want you to succeed financially. I want you to prosper, because then the work you're doing and the purpose you serve are fulfilled through the ease of financial foundations and stability. So tell us a little bit about the gift that you're offering. And then when we're done, don't worry if you're listening to this and you're driving. Thanks for listening. We will make sure that the link is included in the description, but I will read it out to you as well. So go ahead and tell us a little about what you have to offer us.
So the gift I'm offering is a guidebook, and it's to get you to become IRS ready. So yes, it's to give you 3 parts to become IRS ready. And, because so many times people believe that it's really difficult to just set that foundation. And it really isn't. Very simple things that you can do every year just to make sure that you're in a much better position, that if for some reason, because there's never a guarantee of why you're going to get audited. There's multiple reasons why one is audited. But if you were, it wouldn't be a thing to you, because you would be ready and you would know that you have at least some fundamental things in place. So that way, when they showed up, you would say, okay, I know exactly what I need to do. I have some few next steps that I need to take, and I can at least feel in a good place of where to go next and what to do next, versus panicking when you get what I call the bird letter.
Yes, I love it. Yes, Ian, so this is so important. So the link for everybody who's listening is a bit.ly link. So it's bit.ly/I, capital R, capital S, ready with a capital R. So it's bit.ly/IRS ready, all caps IRS and the R in ready. So take a look at it, download it, use it, stay informed, stay prepared, and stay prosperous. So I'm going to give you the last moment to take us out of here today, ShanNel. Tell us, you've got that person in front of you. You got 1 minute to give them, the goods. What's the one thing that everyone should really keep in mind when they think about IRS, tax, and financial freedom?
Well, the one thing that everyone should keep in mind is that when it comes to the IRS, all they truly want is they want you to be honest about your situation. And so therefore, it just requires you to have an honesty with yourself, and then being okay with either approaching them or getting the help that you need to approach them. The more that you run away, then that's when they have to puff up their chests. But the more that you are willing to say, hey, this is where I am, honestly, you have options. And I want you to know that you truly do have options. They're really not as bad as people think they are. But at the same time, you have to be willing to step up in your truth and go ahead and get the solution that is rightfully and legally yours. And if you're not courageous enough to do it on your own, I am here to help you with that.
That's it. You heard it here first. So yes, be honest, be upfront, and be prepared to find a solution. Thank you so much. So for everyone listening, we have been delighted with some great information. And I know there's a plethora more. So do take advantage of following up with Shan-Nel D. Simmons of Nail Tax Solutions and get that link or get that program from her at the link bit.ly/IRS ready. Again, you can get it above this video if you're watching the video and or on this podcast. So thank you so much for watching. I'm Leah Dunlap, Oracle on Purpose, and this is Oracle on Purpose podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Oracle on Purpose show. If you found value in this episode, we'd appreciate you leaving a comment. Also, you can subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't yet. If you'd like to get clear on your highest vision and next steps, go to oracleonpurpose.com. See you next week.